Happy Wednesday. How is everybody? It is Wednesday. It is lunchtime. Let's have a little lunch. And today we're going to talk about a little real estate. So, the Atlanta market is been a different kind of market, which a lot of markets have been a different kind of market, but we're going to specifically talk about the Atlanta market because that's the market that I'm in. So, and a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today are going to apply to other markets. But today, we're going to wrap up this year. We're going to wrap up this market, and we're going to start a new year based upon a few things. So, we're going to give some tips and advice to some buyers, some sellers, and some other agents because that's just the kind of person that I am. So, let's kick it off with our buyers, right? First of all, let's step back a second. How are y'all feeling? How are my agents feeling? Hi, you guys. How are my agents feeling? How are my buyers feeling and my sellers feeling? It's been a different year. So let's just take a step back and realize kind of where we came from. I know a lot of people had amazing years this year and some people not so amazing. I know a lot of people had goals that they wanted to achieve this year that they not so much, they didn't achieve those goals, right? But let's look at the positive of it all, right? We're not where we were. It could certainly have been worse. Um, and we're still here. And we still get to try and we still get to do and we still get to create new spaces and opportunities for us to win. So, that being said, let's talk to our buyers for a second. So, buyers, get to negotiating, right? Houses are staying on the market longer. And so that means that creates a space where sellers are more motivated. And because most homes are selling for less than list price, it gives you an opportunity to do some negotiating, whether that's asking for money off the price or asking for, as my amazing friend Anthony Rogerson would say, that right now money. Get some concessions paid from your seller, right? Get some repairs done, get some updates and whatnot and whatever. So don't be afraid to negotiate. You can get that win that you're looking for, right? Or get you an agent who has skilled negotiation skills, right? Um, Pay attention to the interest rates. Interest rates have gone down slightly. It could be the difference between you of being able to afford that house and not. It could be the difference between you getting the house of your dreams and not. So be sure to pay attention to what the interest rates are. Last time I checked, they were low sixes ish, high fives. I haven't seen very many high fives, I'll be honest, without some buy down, but majority is low six. So pay attention to the interest rates so that you can use that to your advantage, right? Also, buyers, there are a lot of contracts that are terminating, right? So what that means is you'll see a house that goes pending, and then a couple of days later, you'll see it'll either say back on the market or it'll say back active. What that means is that buyer that had a contract on that house decided that they were no longer going to buy that house for whatever reason, whether it be repairs, appraisal, financing, whatever the reason may be, they terminated the contract. That gives you some power to step right in and get a great deal in that house because that seller may have already moved out depending upon how long or how far into the transaction they already were. They may have already started doing repairs on the house, so that's a benefit to you. Or they may already have an appraisal done and they're ready to renegotiate that sales price. Either way, buyers, I encourage you, if you see a house that you like and it's already under contract, go ahead and have your agent call that listing agent and say, hey, what are the terms of that offer? Or because they're not going to tell you the price of the offer, but they'll tell you the terms, meaning like if their due diligence period is 5 days, 7 days, and you still have a couple of days left on that, if things are starting to look a little shaky, the agent will tell you, hey, yeah, because you may be interested in submitting a backup offer. And that's exactly why I'm asking you to do that, is so that you can submit that backup offer. I'll tell you, I have a client who came to me. It was a house that she really liked. And before we started working together, the house went under contract. When we came together and we started working together, I discovered, hey, I know that agent. I know that listing agent. Let me give her a call. Let me see, how that contract is going. Let me see if there's an opportunity for you to submit a backup offer. My client was like, what's a backup offer? I said, essentially, it is putting you in the first position if something happens to that first contract. And guess what? She ended up buying that house last week. I called the agent. The house actually was getting ready to come back on the market. We submitted the offer. We didn't need to submit a backup offer, right? Because the house is coming back on the market. Submitted the offer. The seller accepted it. And we closed last week. It was amazing. Last Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to my client. And definitely think about submitting those backup offers, because that could be the difference. Truly, truly, truly the difference. My 2026 advice to my buyers, right? Get pre-approved. Do your research on the areas that you want to live in. Also look at comps. Yes, your agent needs to be skilled in, pricing and all that to get you the best deal, but do your research as well. Take a look at the different areas. Right now would be a great time to kind of drive around and look at areas. You can look at Christmas lights while you do that, right? It's a twofold. Look at them Christmas lights and see the different areas where you are thinking about moving to next year. Even if you're not ready to buy, you can certainly look at these areas to say, hey, this is somewhere I would want to be in the future, to make it make sense, because your agent is not going to have all the answers, but some of the answers you can fill in the blanks for yourselves. And be prepared to negotiate. Like I said, get you an agent who is skilled in negotiation, because buyers that have strategies in this market are winning. And I, of course, want you to win. So that is my advice to my buyers. To my sellers, let's have a conversation. To my sellers, we need you to be very prepared to price strategically and realistically. Nearly 40% of all listings that have been on the market have had at least one price reduction. What does that mean? It means that buyers are rejecting the current price that you're listed, or you listed too high. There is the days of, let's try that price are really over. You really want to make sure that you're standing out in several different ways, and price is one of the best ways to do so. The inventory in this market is shifting. We haven't seen this much inventory on the market in a very long time, very definitely pre-COVID. So your listing has to stand out in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Whether that's pricing, whether that's staging, or whether that's the marketing of your home, your house must stand out. And you have to figure out that way that it'll stand out. I've seen agents that have done bonuses. I've seen agents that have done giveaways. Not this year. I want to say it might have been either last year or it might be at the end of 2023. There was actually someone who sold the car with the house. So, I mean, it was a luxury price point, but still, like, the marketing on that was amazing. So just thinking about that is going to be something to be very mindful of. And the market is still fairly stable, you guys. I haven't seen any indications of a crash. I've been licensed since 2006. So I very much remember when the market crashed, and I very much remember what that looked like. And I remember how it felt the next day after the market had crashed. I remember when there was an opportunity that when people were selling their houses, people were basically begging buyers to buy their house. Like, I'll give you my firstborn if you buy my house type of situation. So very much not that feeling. I don't see any indications of that. Actually, what I've been seeing, and all indicators are pointing towards a balanced market next year. So we'll see what that looks like. While some of the markets are softening much quicker than others, it's still an opportunity for us to get qualified buyers on these houses. So pay attention to that. So my advice for 2026 for my sellers, start doing those pre-list inspections. That's going to be very important, because you live in your house every day, and sometimes there are things that are happening in your house that you just don't know about, or you know about but you're oblivious to, or you know about and you just figure out a way to ignore it. Right? That toilet that's been running forever, you just turn off the water to it when it's not in use, and you forget all about it. But meanwhile, when the inspector comes through, that's something that has to be renegotiated, and so now the buyer is all in a tizzy, and they want you to put $1,000 credit towards getting that fixed. Now, is that necessary? Absolutely not. Is it something that can be easily fixed? It is. So that being said, get your pre-inspections done. Sorry, your pre-list inspections done. So that way you can take care of all of the repairs that you've been made aware of. And it helps you with your negotiations, as well as it helps you to tighten or strengthen your contracts so that your contracts are not falling apart. We talked about the pre-list inspections, also doing some of the cosmetic fixes, as well as some updating. That has certainly helped, because all of this can help strengthen the buyer confidence when it's all said and done, right? So now, my agents, let me give you some advice or some tips, right? Education is going to be your superpower. Knowing about development projects that are coming up, knowing about things that are happening in certain areas. This is your career. This is your business. This is how you feed your family. This is your industry. So you should be very knowledgeable about what's going on, because you're helping your clients make the biggest decision of their lives sometimes. So you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Also, it's cliche and it's been said time and time again, but your network equals your net worth. Who do you know in this business? Do you know someone that you can send an offer to, and you have, several people have sent offers over, and that agent is going to look at your offer and say, hey, I know Jonna. I know that she's going to have a solid transaction. It's going to be seamless. It's going to be, easy. Let me see what this offer looks like. Let me see if we can't work this deal out. Do you have other agents in your network that are going to look out for you in that way? I just told you a story about how the listing agent on a house that my client liked, I knew him. So I called him, hey, what's going on with that contract? And we were able to get her sold last week. So just being able to communicate and cultivate relationships with your agent partners and your lender partners and other vendors is going to be vital for 2026 and beyond. So be very mindful of that. Also, sharpen your skills. It's not just about the education. Are you going to, CE classes? Do you know about contract changes? Do you know, have you sharpened your negotiation skills, your communication skills, your pricing skills, right? I was on a mastermind the other day, and they were talking about some pricing situations and how to sharpen. I was like, wow, I never even thought about that. So just be sure to sharpen your skills, educate yourself, and grow your network. That's going to be a great place to start, right? So 2026, we're going to move toward, in my opinion, we're going to move towards a much more balanced market, which means both sides are still going to win. You may have some let me not say you may. You'll have some negotiation power. So you be very mindful of what that looks like for you. Pay attention to interest rates. I've said this actually for the last year and a half. Interest rates are probably going to be somewhere between the high fives, low sixes, which is kind of where they are right now. Next year is going to be a very strategic market. You're going to definitely have to be skill based. Education is going to be key. Learning how to negotiate is going to be key, as well as creating a plan for your clients, whether that's your sellers or your buyers, coming up with a plan that is going to help your clients win. Don't be transactional. People can smell commission breath a mile away. Do you care about your clients? They'll know based upon how you grow. Bars? Am I a rapper? I'm not. But truly think about what you're doing. I know people talk about how this is an easy career, it's an easy job. It's really not. We make it much harder than it has to be, but you definitely need to be very skill based doing this job. You really, really do need to be skill based. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not something that we can go into lightly. This is very, very serious for a lot of people, including myself. So that is my market update, as well as my predictions for 2026. Stay tuned. Next week, I will have a very, very special guest. Next week, I'm super excited about her joining me next week. As always, happy Wednesday. Hope you're having an amazing week. Happy holidays. And join me next week for a little lunchtime and a little real estate talk. Talk to you soon.